Hello and welcome to Preludes. My name is Angel Correa. I'm the artistic director of the Philadelphia Ballet, and today we will be chatting about our upcoming program of new works. I have with me today Oksana Maslova, Sterling Baca, and Charles Askegar. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. For you, Oksana, when you're working with the choreographer, you've worked with different choreographers, but how do you translate, the difference between each choreographer and what the choreographer is asking you to do?
It seems like every person is different, so it's become to be different in the movement, in the style, and everything. You cannot read right away what it's gonna be.
The vocabulary is different, so the way of movement is different. I know that you also do, of course, you do all the classical ballets. For you, how difficult it is to go from very classical in rehearsal to a more modern work, creating new works for the company?
For me, it's actually not very difficult. I don't know, my body able to move differently, maybe because of my background as rhythmic gymnastic. So it's more difficult for the brain. And when your brain needs to work like rapidly and like catching up new movements, this is hard.
What about for you, Sterling?
Yeah, I mean, the key difference for me is that it's exciting to be a part of a creative process. It's very different than doing a classical ballet, a balancing ballet, or a contemporary piece that's already been set, where you're in a way imitating what's been done, or replicating how it's been danced in the past, making it your own, but it's set. Whereas when you go into the studio with a new choreographer, you can be a part of making a new voice with them, becoming the movement that they want, but also I've always found that the choreographer will feed off of what you are doing once you're chosen for the piece, and that you actually have the opportunity to imprint yourself on that work as it moves forward wherever else it will be performed after it's created here.
For you, Charles, you've been in both places. You've been created on, and now you're helping the choreographers put these ballets together and choreograph with the dancers. What is for you the difference between being a dancer and now being a rehearsal director?
Well, yes, there is a difference. As a dancer, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out how whoever you're working with, how their movement and their ideas are going to be translated through your body alone. And then as a rehearsal director, I'm looking at how it works for you and how we can get everybody going together in the same way, trying to understand what the choreographer is trying to give to the dancers, their style of movement, their vocabulary, all of that, and then also try to help in guiding the piece forward as a work of art, and how that takes shape. And so it's a little bit more encompassing a role instead of as a dancer, where you're really just trying to focus on your own self.
Mm-hmm. For you, Sterling, you have created some really important roles with the repertoire of the company, but especially, for example, Andrew Winkheart last season, he created something quite earthy and very sort of like soul, with a great soul, with prima materia. How does it feel to be created with a new composition of music, new composition of ballet, and costumes? What does the process feel like?
Well, I had an incredible time working with Andrew. He's a very impressive, multifaceted, talented person. I mean, he composed the music, he did the set design, he did the costumes, and then he choreographed it. So it was actually the first time that I've been in a process where the choreographer was composing the music as he was choreographing, which I thought was very impressive and very interesting mathematical connection that he made between the music he was making and the dance. And one of the most satisfying processes I've been a part of.
Let's talk a little bit about music, because some choreographers, they work with more classical music. There are other choreographers that they work with more neoclassical music, and there's some choreographers that work with really, really modern music. So when that happens, first, what do you prefer? of all of those different styles? And second, if it's a really difficult music, how do you approach having to count at the same time that you're learning the steps, learning the counts all at once? So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have a preference when it comes to new works of the style of music. I think that really comes with the choreographer and what their vision is and what they want to use. So it always feels natural with what they're looking for. I would say, you know, depending on, say it's more classical, you have a better idea of being able to count the bars. Whereas if you can get really abstract, you know, there's been pieces that I'm dancing to sounds, you know. On the ting, I have to be at this point in the choreography, you know, and there really aren't any counts. It's actually something that I've always found for rehearsal directors can be quite difficult through the process, because it's not just, you know, through a creative process, I've had times where, you know, a rehearsal director is there trying to take notes and have a set of what they've just created, and they'll come in the next day and just cut all of it, you know, or completely change all of it, and you're just like, throw away a piece of paper, you know.
Or sometimes until the very last day,
Exactly.
things are changing, so
Yeah.
you have to be really ready. For you, Oksana, how do you feel about it?
I mean, I like to have a little bit of freedom if it's a silence or just noises, and if they give you a freedom of how to move and not be like very time framed, so you like need to squeeze everything or just like to get in the moment where you don't know when it's gonna happen. So if they give a little bit of freedom, any music could work, but classical music always interesting. You like hear something familiar and you're like, okay, it would be super cool to find out how it's gonna interpret it in a new way. So, but anything, if it's very talented and beautiful, I accept.
If you have to, you know, choose a ballet, either a new ballet created on you by a choreographer or a ballet that has been created for other companies, what ballet would that be? I mean, we're putting aside our resident choreographer, Juliana Nunes, a choreographer or a ballet that you would love to do?
I wasn't prepared for this question. I mean, new talented choreographers, it's also amazing. I mean, there is certain like masterpieces, like well-known masterpieces that everyone loves, and I think it's like Forsyth, you know, I still think Wayne McGregor is amazing, and we've done Chroma, that was like just wow for the company. So probably two of these I would love to do, either repeat or do something new. But also, like, in our times, it's lots of amazing, young, talented people, so it's exciting.
I'll write it down.
Okay.
For you, Sterling?
It would be hard to pick one, and depending on what style I'm, you know, looking for. You know, there's a lot of classic, you know, say like Robin stuff that I would love to revisit, like Fancy Free. But I've seen a lot of work by, say, Maurice Béjart, which would be quite interesting. Like something like the Bolero, I think would be a really interesting experience to just kind of be stuck in this rhythmic repetition for that amount of time, you know. So, but it would be hard to, there's just so much creation out there, and we keep creating more and more, so, which is a good thing.
Very little time. Yeah, so much to do. For you, Charles, is there a ballet that you would like to work with?
Well, you know, yeah, I mean, the modern classics are, you know, and I mean modern, like in the past 15, 20 years, they're great. I love, like, we've done, like you say, Chroma, and a couple of the Third Light, was it? Or things like that. Wonderful, wonderful ballets, and really love doing them, and they need to be seen here in Philadelphia. But I really do think, you know, one of the great things that we do, that you bring in so many new choreographers, because that really does define a company in a way that just doing other, you know, classics are great. You know, because they show this what really strong
talent,
work,
yes.
you know, of the talent, and then but the new works are very exciting because you're building the identity of the company, and so I really enjoy working on the new ballets.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you at the Perlman Theater for the program of New Works.